Hey everybody, it's Kathy and we're here with Soul Talk Jam. And I'm in a very sacred place to me in West Virginia. And I'm just gonna turn the camera a little bit so that you can see where I am and why it might be so sacred. So I just thought that I would talk a little bit about the Shah today and Gaia. So every time I come out here, because it is sacred to me, I always think of the Shah because this planet that we live on is Gaia, not a thing, not just a planet, but a consciousness. And there is a whole beautiful big story that I'm writing some books on about Gaia, the origins of Gaia, the origins of the Shah, which are inner earth light beings that I've worked with for about 20 years or more or so now. And for the longest time that the Shah were mentoring and apprenticing me, they asked me not to talk about them much and not to expose them because it was not yet time. And it's not so much about time, it's about the consciousness of the planet and humans. And had I brought out the information as I was getting it, first of all, I probably would have been much less accurate because of my condition. I was still not fully soul based. I was still operating, perceiving, and processing according to ego mind, and that's very limited. So I'm glad that I've waited all this time, and I'm glad that they asked me to wait. They have managed. They have managed for eons and eons of time to remain pretty much hidden because of the history of the Shah with humans in the age of fragmentation after the Great Fall, and we fragmented and became ego based instead of deep soul based. So I'm just going to give a little bit of the story here because I am cooking here in the sun and I don't do so well with a lot of sun and a lot of heat. So anyway, I'll record some more when I find some shade over there to my right. It's a beautiful place. So there's lots of sunny places and there's lots of shady places. I love this place. I have a sweet, sweet spiritual history here, and I might tell you about it sometime. Okay, so let's talk about Gaia first of all. So years ago, when I started getting this unusual and kind of weird, even to me, information from it was mainly within myself, but I knew that it was a tribe of beings or group consciousness, something like that. So anyway, because I don't um, unwisely listen to channelings even within myself, I want to know where that information is coming from and if it's supportive for my life or if it's just for getting attention or um, getting too exuberant with the information. Anyway, I'm really all about being as accurate as possible. But when it comes to the unseen, the subtle energies, and beings of light, and the kinds of things that I talk about, you just can't validate much of it the way that the third dimensional mind likes and needs validation and proof, like evidence based, that kind of thing. So, anyway, I'm going to go on with the story here and tell you how this came about with somebody as skeptical as me, especially then. So I asked this tribe or these beings and I was hearing the voice very strongly. It was a unified voice, and so therefore, in some sense, it had a deeper, more reverberatory tone to it. And so it was kind of hard to miss inside of myself. So anyway, I said, who the hell am I talking to anyway? What beings are you and where do you come from? And I immediately heard, we call ourselves the Shah, S-H-A. And as in shaman, Shaw woman. And of course, I had never heard of this group of beings, so I was still skeptical. But anyway, I said, well, where are you from? What are your origins? And immediately again, they said, we originated with the earth. And so I paused, thought about it, and I said, well, what the hell does that mean? Explain that to me. You originated with the earth. How do you mean? And it was then that immediately upon, I skipped a little step there. Once I checked in with my soul about them for a little bit and felt strong resonance, I went ahead then and allowed them to communicate much more with me, more deeply, more broadly. And so this is the story they gave me in short form. Again, I am writing a book that is now a trilogy about these things in great detail, according to my soul memory, visions, dreams, experiences about these things, because it's very mysterious to some degree. So they said that what they mean that they originated with Earth is that a long, long time ago, I think, if we were talking in linear time, it would be billions of years ago. But most of these experiences that I've had over the years and dreams and visions are not in linear time. They are either in some other time zone, in other dimensions, or in 0 point, the no time, no space, where it's a time-space continuum. So anyway, they continued to tell me the story and said, long, 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 long time ago, there was a very large planet in this solar system, known then as Terra, Terra, and that it was a very special planet. And they said they would give me more information throughout the time that we spend together, since I agreed to allow them to share with me. Within the planet Terra, within her belly, inner Terra, was Gaia. Same spelling, same Gaia consciousness as what we call Mother Nature, planet Earth. But Gaia, at that time, within her mother planet of Terra, was a city. It was a huge, huge city that was segmented up into portions. And the deepest part, the heart of the inner city of Terra, was something that they call the wells of Gaia. Wells, Wells, the wells of Gaia, the most sacred part of the planet. And boy, do I have a lot of information about the wells of Gaia. And then the Shaw continued to tell me um, that this was where they originated, and I was in the wells of Gaia. And I said, well, I thought you told me that you originated with Earth. And they said, we did, because planet Earth is also the daughter of Terra, actually the granddaughter of Terra. And Earth, though, is the daughter of planet Gaia. And here's the short version of that. So Gaia, the city of Gaia, all of inner Terra, was a galactic retreat, so to speak, is what we would call it today. As a matter of fact, a better analogy is that Gaia, the wells of Gaia, inner Terra, all of inner Terra, there's so many beautiful parts to it. I'm kind of getting caught up a little bit because I'm getting into my soul memory. Anyway, so it would better be compared to like our United Nations. This planet, surface and inside of Terra, was a planet where all sorts of intergalactic, interdimensional, and alien as well type beings gathered. It was the ultimate peace retreat. There was a deflection and filtration force field around Terra that could monitor and detect the frequencies and vibrations of incoming beings or their transportation devices. And if they were not in alignment with the pureness of this planet, Terra, then they were just deflected. They weren't shot at. This was not that kind of planet. They were just gently deflected by the force field and they could not enter. So anyway, okay, so that's how the planet served the galaxy, actually, this Milky Way galaxy. So anyway, back to the story, the shortened version that the Shah were giving me is that Gaia had beings that originated there within the inner planet of Terra, in the city of Gaia, and at its heart, the wells of Gaia. There were beings that they just became. I'm not even sure what to call that. It was not a creation like we are and like many other light beings and interplanetary beings are. And anyway, they were then known as Gaians, these energy forms, energies and consciousness that became somewhat of a form to be a being, and they glowed gold. They were golden beings. Now, the Elohim are also golden beings, but the Elohim do not originate or really work out of our 12-dimensional universe. They're far beyond. These golden beings, Gaians, were in our 12-dimensional universe on planet Terra, within planet Terra. So anyway, over a long period of time, probably, but again, we are not talking in terms of time, but more vibration, resonance, frequency. So Gaia grew so large and expanded so much in pure consciousness. And of course, that was always being added to by the beings that came there for all sorts of beautiful reasons that I go into detail in my books about. And the consciousness of Gaia, the whole of it, expanded so much that it burst the surface of Terra. So it was a cosmic, divine, planetary birth, literally. Terra ruptured as Gaia expanded, and then the remnants of Terra after that birth became the asteroid belt, is what they tell me, the Shaw. And then Gaia was a preform planet. And this is where the very first part of the Christian Bible in Genesis talks about that in the beginning there was darkness, it was void, and the earth was brooding. That was not Earth, that was Gaia becoming a planet. And I don't know any time frames or how long this took, but there was a lot of things going on. Even though it wasn't a planet yet, it was still the consciousness that was becoming form. Everything that was Gaia within Terra, and everything about Terra's surface, is also part of Gaia consciousness. So it's fractal and holographic. So the consciousness of Gaia contains all that planet Terra, Gaia, the wells of Gaia, and all the other things where there's vibrational imprints. Now, at some point, the Gaian consciousness became its own planet, planet Gaia. This was pre-Earth. There's a lot that went on during that span of time as well, including 12 different dimensional star lineages that make up the 12 strands of our DNA. Each one of those star lineages brought groups of, they did not use these terms, but I'm going to use this for understanding, high level, such as, let me just give examples. So for 1,000 years, the Pleiadians inhabited this planet to test and make sure it was going to be habitable for their type of frequency, vibration, and consciousness. And then for 1,000 years, the Syrians, for 1,000 years, the Arcturians, yada, yada, on and on and on, until all 12 star lineages had lived on this planet within their particular vibrations, consciousness, and frequencies for 1,000 years. And then at the end of that 12,000, all 12 representatives from all 12 star lineages came all at one time to establish and to imprint on the planet itself the unity and the harmony of all 12 star lineages, because the human being was going to be created next. And that was created, we were created. Now I'm not going to go into this right now because it's a biggie, but we were created from 12 different dimensional star lineages of different light. Okay, so now the reason, okay, so then I almost got ahead of myself. So the next step is, okay, that 13,000 years, and then the human was created, and we lived in what was probably the original golden age, because the Shah were the primary beings of this planet, because they originated. They're the base note. Their frequency is the base note in our DNA. It gives us stability, feelings of safety and security. That's just a small part. But anyway, so the Shah were still among us and were part of us and literally are part of our DNA. And so I don't know how long that period of time went, but again, I have some details from soul memory, dreams, and visions of that period of time. Then the cataclysmic, the great, great, great cataclysmic, there had already begun being some vibrational mm, mm, downward spirals going on by the time that I'm talking about now. I'm not going to go into this either, but just going to say that the third Atlantean era and period, um, from what I'm told by the Shah and from what my soul memory tells me, was the great fragmentation, the great fall, the one that literally, I think, flipped us upside down. I think the planet flipped. Um, we dropped vibrationally as beings, and everything on the earth dropped and fragmented. We were no longer unified. And that's a whole big story as well. And the book that I'm writing on that is Leaving the Age of Forgetfulness and Remembering the Soul's Journey Through Ego. It's a very fascinating story from soul and ego itself. And that's a different book than the ones about Gaia. So let's go back to the story about Gaia and how can Gaia be a consciousness of planets and beings. So when the planet of Gaia and our people fragmented and we became third dimensionally bound as though we were prisoners, the Shah, because they are Gaia, they also went through a downward spiral and became different types of beings. So that great fragmentation did a whole lot of damage, caused a lot of dysfunction and distortion. The dysfunction came from the distortion, and we became ego-minded, ego-bound. The wheel of karma became a thing, and we kind of got stuck here over and over and over to some degree. It's an interesting story. And of course, everything that I'm being told, I know is not going to be 100% accurate. I'm not 100% accurate, and I know that. I have no problem admitting that. Nobody is 100% accurate, especially 100% of the time. We may be 70% accurate one day, 30% accurate another day, and 95% accurate on a different day. So I'm very careful to sit with these things and take them to my soul, because that's where my experience led me to over these years, was to the depths of my soul. That's where I pray. That's where I worship, which to me is just excitement within my soul, or dancing within my soul. Um, so everything that I do, every thought, every question, every piece of information, whether it's written, verbal, or downloaded, I take to my soul and I wait. And if it's important and if it's mostly valid, then it's going to get stronger in me. And I've just been through this process long enough to know how to do that. And I am off sometimes. I'm human. So anyway, it is an interesting story. I'm going to get off of here now after I stand up and show you some more of this beautiful place here in West Virginia. So this is the Tygart River. And this beautiful place is a very small community known as Arden, West Virginia. So this is my day. Thank you for joining me and allowing me to share with you not only this beautiful view, but the sacred tones, frequencies, and vibrations that are going to affect you too. Peace and love to all, and walk in the peace of your soul.